Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi, and today we are talking about a whole bunch of new makeup and a couple of things that are just new to me. And one of the featured items is actually going to be this new Givenchy eyeshadow palette. This is number 9.08. This was released for holiday, but it actually, in the US, it pretty recently just came out. So it didn't come out right when all of those other holiday releases dropped. And it is available on a few department store websites as well as Givenchy.com. So that's going to be one of the items we're talking about. We're talking about a new lipstick brand. We've got some comparisons and so forth. So let's go ahead and get started. Now today we are starting off with these products already on my face. I have the Viseart Eye Primer on, lightly dusted with some powder, as well as the Youthforia. This is the Pre-Game Protective Primer. I really like this. It's a nice moisturizing primer, so it's become one of my go-tos. And we also have the Cle de Peau, the foundation in shade I-10. So that's buffed into my skin using the Refer 24 brush. I'm mentioning that because you're going to see me use this again with the blush today. So it was already used for the foundation when I used it for the blush. So concealers, the Chanel Sublimage in 02. So today, the first thing that we are looking at is going to be the Charlotte Tilbury Glow Gasm Wand in Pink Gasm. And this is actually a new product to me. I did not try it when it first came out. And packaging, I know people have talked about the packaging before not being great because you've got the built-in applicator and so forth. I totally agree. That's not my favorite type of application. I'd rather have this maybe like in something more like a lipstick tube or something like that, with a wand. But whatever, this is how it is. There is a feature on this though that I do think is helpful, and that's this kind of on-off here. So you can see right here along the rim. So you actually want to turn this for on. You can see it's lifted then. And then you can squeeze it out, or you can conserve your product a bit when you turn it to off. So I think that's helpful. I actually have some extra product here. So this is the Pink Gasm. And when you kind of shear this out, you can see it's going to be more of a highlighting blush. Definitely are going to have a sheen with this, kind of like a metallic warm rose shade. As you can see in this demo here, I am using the Refer 24 brush, which I had also already used for foundation. So there's probably a little bit of foundation left on there. Now, the Glow Gasm has a 12-month shelf life and it's made in Italy. You have 0.4 ounces or 12 milliliters. So decent size there. And overall, I think it's really nice the way it actually looks on the skin. I applied one side, with the brush and one side with my fingers. I went in afterwards, like right now, what I have on my skin is with the brush. So I went in and kind of diffused that, but you can see you can definitely go in with the fingers, build that up. You could use this wand. I just personally don't like to use built-in wand applicators to apply my makeup. One thing to dispense it, but I try to keep it as clean as possible. So using as less frequently as I can would be, optimal for me. So overall, my thoughts on the Glow Gasm Wand, I can see why this is a favorite for so many people. I think it's nice, it's easy to use. This would definitely be something great to travel with. Overall, I really like it. So it's not something where I'll probably pick up like a whole bunch of colors, but I definitely like the one I have, and I think it's really nice to use. It's one that I've actually used this probably about 5 times already. And yeah, I think it's a winner. Next up, we're looking at the Givenchy 9.08 palette. And this has a 6-month shelf life. You have 8 grams of product. I purchased mine from the Givenchy website, but again, it is available now on several other retailers. So I'll have the links in the description box. And you can see we have got a mix of finishes. This is the top row. You can see we've got kind of this more of like a faded black matte, followed by a, glittery gold here. And this is going to be one that's got a little bit more of that orangey yellow vibe to it. And then we have a taupe. This is going to be, a little bit more of a warm gray, very soft warm gray than a true taupe. And then for this middle row, you can see we've got shimmers here as well and some mattes. And look at this shade. This is one of my favorite shades in the palette. You can see it's kind of this bronze with a touch of rose in there, but it's a really pretty like coppery bronze shade. shimmer is very fine. Then we have this matte. It's kind of like a goldenrod shade. And then we have a slightly warmer, and look, it looks champagne here, but look at it on my skin. You can see it's definitely going to be much more orange. It's kind of like a soft orange copper shade. And for the bottom row here, we have a bit more of a, this is going to be more brown with just a faint touch of red shimmer. And then this one here is going to be more of a true red brown shade. And then last up, we have this soft, more of a very faint pumpkin peach kind of matte there. So we've got definitely some very soft shades here. We also have some more pigmented ones, but this is not going to be a super strongly pigmented palette. As you can see from these colors, obviously you have some deeper colors here, but nothing's going to be like incredibly deep. It's a really great mix of neutrals, and I really like having the lighter shades and the deeper shades in here to give you kind of like these soft diffused eye looks. And, you know, that's not to say that they are soft without lacking pigment on the lids, just that they are not going to be like as pigmented as something like a Pat McGrath. So overall, though, I think you can get a wide variety of looks from this palette. It's going to be primarily neutrals. Most likely, a lot of people already have these shades in their collections. And as I'm talking, you can see these eye looks here. I've got a few different eye looks that I have created with this palette over the last few weeks. And yeah, I think it's a really great, you know, just kind of like a neutral classic palette to have in your collection. Now, if you already have all of these shades, this is definitely not something that you need to run out and buy, but we do have a few comparisons that we're going to look at with this too. So before we do that, let's talk a little bit about the formulas for Givenchy eyeshadows. I feel like Givenchy is here in the US, it's very underrated. We don't hear that much about it. We don't get all of the releases from them. I know in other parts of the world is definitely much more celebrated than it is here in the US. But I have to say it's one of my favorite brands because it is definitely quality products and you still have a very reasonable price point for luxury items. So one of the things I really like about these shadows, all of these perform very well. They blend beautifully. If you're just using the mattes, you can get kind of that soft blurred look on your lids, which is definitely really great if you have aging eyelids like I do. I'm in my 40s now and I'm starting to notice like more wrinkles and so forth on my eyelids. And it's nice to get a little bit more of that blurred look. And so these mattes, they go on very beautifully. They blend nicely. And, you know, just like you would with like a powder, you can notice, you know, like a face powder, you can notice a bit of that blurring effect on your lids. So I really appreciate that from them. And they just work so well with the other, you know, shades and textures in this palette as well. Now, speaking of these other shades, we do have shimmers in here as well. They are going to be a little bit glittery, but really, most of them are going to be more of a satin finish with just a hint of glitter. And you could see those, you know, they applied really smoothly. The only one that's really, you know, a little extra glittery would be the middle shade in the first row. So is that gold? And that one has a much softer, lighter, more translucent base. So really you're noticing more of that golden glitter than you are any shadow pigmentation. So it definitely looks more glittery. I think there is a higher concentration of glitter in that particular shade as well. The others are going to be more of a satin finish shadow with a touch of glitter in there. And you can see that some of them are going to have a little bit more than others, but for the most part, they're pretty comparable. So overall, I would have to say Givenchy eyeshadows, in my opinion, are really, really nice. You know, a few years ago, some of their eyeshadow palettes, I feel like they have been lacking pigmentation. Some of them have been a little hit or miss, but I really feel like in recent years, the last couple of years, I have not tried one that has been a dud yet. I think they are really excellent quality and I really like them. I love having 9 different shades in there because let's face it, you know, it's not, at least for me, I don't typically pan eyeshadow. So I'd rather have smaller pans that are still sizable enough to fit a brush in, you know, with the color options, with multiple color options versus something really large and oversized of one shade, unless it's like the perfect taupe. So let's take a look at some comparisons. So this is the 9.08 palette that we've been discussing. This is 9.07, which was holiday last year. So let's do a quick comparison here with this one. All right, so I'm actually just gonna put this one right down below. And I'm gonna take an eyeliner here and just separate these two palettes so you can see the difference. You know where the separation is between the 9.08 and the 9.07. So I don't know if you can actually read. I tried to write the numbers of the palettes there, but I was having a little difficulty with that. So we've got the 9.08, here's the 9.07 so far, and we've got one more row. You can see that we definitely have some shades that are going to be similar in tone, but overall, the 9.07 is just going to be a little bit, we've got shades like this one, this one, this one, and this one that are very similar, but we do have some cooler shades in here, whereas 9.08 is definitely going to be warmer overall. So we don't really have as many cool shades. We do have this kind of like soft ethereal pink. We have a duochrome here. This one here, this third shade here is a little bit of a duochrome. You can see it's like a brownish green. And when I turn, you can see when the light hits it, you get a bit of that forest olive green mixed with a little bit of gold. There's a hint of gold shimmer. So personally, between these two palettes, I do prefer the 9.07 over the 9.08, but I think the 9.08 is a really classic color story. However, they're very close to each other, so if you already have the 9.07, it's not necessary to get the 9.08. Now, I also wanted to take a look at this Burberry palette. This is the Runway Eye palette that came out last year and was basically there for like a week or two, and then nobody could find it again. So it was very, very limited. And actually, I had so many order issues with mine that, I'm going to actually swatch this on my other arm. I had so many order issues that mine took like several weeks to actually arrive. They like sent it back to the back to Burberry and everything when they first sent it to me, and it was just a whole disaster. But yeah, it's a really beautiful eye palette. Their formulas are really fantastic, and we're going to take a look at this Burberry Runway Eye palette because a lot of people missed out on this and really wanted this. But we're also going to look at this year's Burberry Eye palette as well. Now, you can see that formula-wise, these are going to be a little bit richer in color. You've got more pigment. They're also just a little bit more, they're a little bit more of that like smooth gelled powder formula compared to the Givenchy, which is definitely going to be more powder based. So this is the Runway Eye palette. And if we put that up next to 9.08, you can see we definitely have a very similar color story. The Givenchy is going to be softer in pigmentation compared to the Burberry, but you can see that the colors really match up very, very well. So, it's definitely a good alternative to it if you missed out on the Runway Eye palette. Now, this year's palette is also going to have some similar tones, but notice we've got a little bit of a green shade in here as well, making it just a little bit more similar to the 9.07 palette from Givenchy last year. It's kind of like they flip-flopped. So let's go ahead and we're going to swatch this right below. I'm going to draw another line just to separate the palettes. All right, so those are the first three in this year's palette, and we do have those same great textures that we did in the Runway Eye palette. I have to say Burberry shadow formula is so nice. It's definitely going to be one of my favorite formulas. Unfortunately, they just don't have any like permanent palettes, and these are not going to be the same formula as the traditional singles that we always like knew and loved. And yeah, where should I put these? I guess we'll just kind of go on the side here for the last row. But yes, the Burberry singles like Pale Barley and so forth are a different formula from these. These are gelled powder. They're definitely creamier. They've got a little bit more silky texture. Whereas the Pale Barley and those other singles are going to be more of your traditional powder, more similar to what you feel in the Givenchy palette. So this here is going to be, we've got our 9.07 palette starting right there versus the Burberry for this year, which by the way, this one here, you know it's this year because we have the silver top with the gold bottom. This is called the Monogram collection. Got the Burberry logo basically all over. But just so you can kind of see how this one compares with the 9.08, Again, we're going to have very similar shades in here. Really, the only main difference is going to be this green here, which is going to be much more similar to the green in the Givenchy from last year. But you can see that these palettes, all 4 of these are all going to be relatively similar. Next up, we're taking a look at Talika mascara, and they actually sent this to me a while back, and I just never got around to it yet. So I'm finally getting to it. I've been really excited to try this. I have tried some of their other products in the past, but this is their Liposeals mascara, and this is going to be one of those mascaras that has the the lengthening treatment in there, the growth treatment for your lashes. You can see you've got kind of this curved wand here, and I have to say, I think this is a nice mascara. Is it going to be better than my favorite Sisley or Surratt? No, not for me. However, this is definitely more lengthening than either of those. So you can get a little bit more lengthening and volume from this. You can see here in this demo that it definitely goes on nicely. I have actually been using this for a little while. This is not my first use with this. So, yeah, when you first open it, it's not one of those super wet mascaras, but it's been open now for a few weeks and it still hasn't gotten to the point where it's drying out or anything. So everything's good there. I would have to say for me, the closest comparison in formula would be the Chantecaille Faux Seal mascara, which is also going to be one with the growth factors in there, or growth vitamins rather. And then basically the Chantecaille, I feel like, is a little bit more of a wetter formula than this. And I do feel like the Talika mascara is going to be a little bit more lengthening than the Chantecaille, but I do think that the Talika is a very good alternative to the Chantecaille. The Chantecaille definitely can, the prices have gotten really kind of crazy. So I think the Talika is a really good alternative. And I haven't used it for 2 months consistently yet, but, I wanted to try this because there are really so many rave reviews about the lengthening on here. Now, for me, all I can say is that I have not noticed any smudging or flaking or anything. I've been using this one for about 3 weeks or so now, and I haven't had any issues with it. You can definitely kind of, depending on which part of the brush, you can see with my right eye, I kind of built it up a little bit more, and there was a little bit more product on there. Definitely very lengthening, great for a night out. But on my left eye, I had a little bit less product on the wand. I turned it, so I actually put a little bit less product on the lashes, and it was great for an everyday look. So, it's very versatile. If you want to get the, lengthening factors and so forth for your lashes, you definitely want to kind of wiggle it in along the root of your lashes. So I also tried another Talika product, and just like the mascara, they did send this one to me a while back. They sent this with the mascara, and I really wanted to try this because, like so many people from my generation, our eyebrows are a little bit more sparse from over plucking and things when we were younger. And so this is supposed to help those grow. So I used it. You can see this is actually a swatch of it after I've tried wiping it off and so forth, and that hasn't been very effective. But this is just like foam, okay? It's a firm foam tip, and you can actually either paint over your eyebrows with this, or I just kind of made the little lines like I would with a traditional eyebrow pen. But I wanted to compare this to the Suku one. So here's the Suku brow pen. Now, obviously the brush on here is different because we do have an actual brush, but you can see here that you're going to get kind of the same type of look with this. This is 03. So you can see the 03 is just a little bit more reddish versus the brown shade in Talika, which is going to be a little bit cooler. There's a little bit more of an ash brown tone to it than the Suku. But overall, I really think that they are really nice. The Suku, you can get a little bit of a finer line with that because of the brush versus the foam tip applicator. But I'm very excited to see whether or not this will actually promote growth of my brows. So I'm going to be testing this for the next couple months. This was my first trial. And last up, I want to introduce you guys to a new lipstick brand. This is like a small indie brand, and I actually saw this back when I went to that makeup show in the spring, and I've used this particular shade. I haven't used the other ones I picked up yet, but it's called Ada Lip Beauty, and this one here is called I Am Brave. It's their red shade, and you know, you can see in the demo, you can pat it on and get a really light wash. You can use this as a stain and just get like a berry red kind of kiss. You can see this is a slightly cool tone red. But one of the things that makes this really unique is the pigments in here are from fruits and vegetables. So this is one of the boxes that the lipsticks come in. And according to Ada Lip Beauty, you know, it's plant-based, 100% naturally derived with a semi-matte, sheer, and buildable color. And I have to say, I really, by the way, all of the shade names are not aspirations. You know, I guess they're aspirations, you know, things that you want to say to yourself to make yourself feel better. And the one I used was I am brave. This one here is I am perfect. And it's vegan, it's not tested on animals, it's paraben free, GMO free, and gluten free. So I think this would definitely be helpful for certain people who, I know there are some of you who have some allergies and have a really hard time finding a lipstick that you like and you feel comfortable using. This is it's nice. So texturally, you can see here in the demo, I think this kind of exemplifies, I think this demo really kind of shows you the texture. It's going to be a little bit firmer in the bullet, making it easy to pat on for more of a lip stain. But there is going to be a little bit of glide here. So it does go on your lips smoothly and it's not drying at all, but it's going to be one of those more weightless formulas. So even when you build this up, you're not going to ever get like a thick, creamy layer. So the actual packaging is kind of more of like a suede finish on there. And let's go ahead and just swatch the other ones. All right, so let's go ahead and just swatch these. You can see this one's new. Now, it is a natural lip product, so you might see some of the waxes and everything bloom, which might give you a little bit of a whitish coating. That's totally normal. Happens to chocolate too, but that doesn't mean it's gone bad. So unless you smell like something funky or anything like that, you know, most likely your lip products are still good. Now, this one here is called I Am Perfect, and this is the nude shade. Let's see here. I'm going to put this right here. And you can see that this is really going to be more of a warm tone brown-based nude. So it's a little bit on the warm side for me. And then the last one I picked up is I Am Whole. And at the time when I picked these up, these were the only 3 shades they had. I don't know if they still do. This is going to be a mahogany red. And let's put this one, well, we're going to go over the eyeliner or eyebrow. So this is the mahogany red. So this is going to be your warmer red here. And overall, I think they're a really nice, you know, clean beauty lipstick. So I wanted to share those with you. I think they are a really nice brand. Now, if you're interested in these, I'll leave the link down below. But as far as I know, I've only seen them available directly on their website. So those are the new products I wanted to share with you today. Let me know what your thoughts are on all of these items, if you've tried any of these yet, and I'd love to know your thoughts. So please share them down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.